The gun violence prevention workshop I've been attending in Hartford has just wrapped up, and I want to share some final thoughts from that while they're still fresh in my mind, although I've been drinking from a fire hose of information for the past day and a half, so I'm not sure how coherent my thoughts will be. I was privileged to spend the last 2 days with some of the researchers who are trying to understand and reduce the amount of gun violence in the United States. I pause there to let those people who object to the term gun violence leave. For myself, I don't mind the term gun violence because when we look at all of the violence in the United States, violence committed with guns is a significant part of that. And some of the most lethal forms of violence use guns. Guns are lethal weapons. I've spoken about that in a previous video. This also highlights the fact that in the spirit of light over heat, I'm perfectly happy to set aside points of disagreement that I may have with people in order to engage with them, even if they're the ones setting the terms of the engagement. I appreciate being challenged to think differently than I may think, or to have my own ideas challenged so that I can change my mind if appropriate, or reformulate my thoughts, or come up with better ways of expressing the thoughts that I have. I'm interested in the research. I'm not a policy analyst. I'm not a policy advocate. And so when I attend this conference, and I took 15 pages worth of notes, listening to the other presenters. So I'll have many more thoughts about the specifics of these papers as things go forward. Probably the best venue for me to comment on those will be on my blog, so link to those. But again, big picture thinking, I think there's nothing inherently incompatible about advocating for the right to keep and bear arms and wanting to reduce negative outcomes with guns, whether that be suicide, homicide, mass shootings, accidental death and injury, or anything else related to those negative outcomes. And also it highlights a pretty vast common ground for people to occupy if they are concerned with reducing gun violence, much of which doesn't require any further restrictions on firearms. And there are some very gun-neutral policies out there that I think could be useful, like certain styles of policing and hospital intervention programs and community trauma reduction programs, all of which can help to address the problem in ways that no gun owner should be concerned about. In fact, the liberal gun owners, who I speak about quite a bit here, have a concept called simultaneous proponency, which points to advocacy for the right to keep and bear arms and advocacy for the reduction of gun harm. Now, certainly not everybody at this conference would agree. I certainly didn't agree with all of the approaches suggested in this conference, but I'm perfectly happy to set aside those differences in order to try to understand better the phenomenon. Again, for my purposes of generating more light than heat, I'm happy to focus on the points of agreement and the common ground and set aside the disagreement and argumentation for another time. As for my presentation, I did make a video recording of it. It's going to take me a little while to package that together, but if you stay tuned for a week or two, I'll be sure to push that out on this channel just as soon as I can. Thanks as always for watching. Leave your questions and comments here on YouTube, and I'll be happy to engage with those as soon as I can.